Are going to be feeling the impacts well outside of this cone, and really the watches and warnings reflect that. We've got our hurricane warnings that extend across the East Coast, even some of those advisories up into parts of Georgia, as this is going to kind of expand its wind field as it continues to weaken on approach to us, which we saw on that track map. That has been the general thinking, is that as it continues to encounter these hostile upper winds, that's really going to impact the northern side of the storm, especially turn it a little lopsided. We get a little bit of that drier air feeding in, which you can certainly see on the south side of the storm, and don't have all of that really heavy convection wrapping around. Where we are going to see the heaviest rain is most certainly going to be along and to the north of where this storm comes on shore. So we've got all of that storm surge that's going to start to rush in as we get that onshore push of the wind flow as we get closer to that landfall. So that's really going to be later tonight into early tomorrow morning as we kind of eye in close on the time frame that we're talking about. It's still somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. that it really looks like the center of the storm will cross onshore. But then from there, we have a long way to go as this kind of crosses right across the state. Then as it emerges off the East Coast, that's when their concerns will start to really ramp up for that onshore flow, storm surge concerns there, and all of those strong winds are going to be felt well across the state of Florida. So as for our storm surge forecast, with that slight shift more to the south, as you kind of saw on the track map there, it's really right along to the mouth of Tampa Bay, down further south into around the Port Charlotte area, where we have that maximum storm surge forecast up to 15 feet, 8 to 12 here for Tampa Bay, and then we get kind of just south of Port Charlotte down into the Fort Myers area, where up to 12 feet of surge for those areas. But Citrus, Pasco, those storm surge numbers have trended down, with the latest shift a little bit farther to the south, because it's really right along and to the south of the eye wall where the storm surge will be the worst. But look at the winds. We're expecting a big chunk of the area here to experience those 110 plus mile per hour gusts as the storm moves across. And then look at this red color here, Orlando down to Melbourne, down to Fort Pierce. Those spots are on the threat to see 74 to up to 110 mile per hour winds, and even tropical storm conditions up into parts of the Big Bend, further down to the base of the Florida Peninsula. With that, we've got the storm surge threat, we've got the wind threat, but look at the rainfall that we're talking about. When we look at our excessive rain outlook, this pink color that we see here, kind of from Tampa Bay up to Daytona Beach, that is the highest flash flooding threat that we can get, to just put it in perspective. So especially as these grounds are so saturated, they're not going to be able to absorb the rain that is coming down at a quick pace, because this is right on through the next 24 hours or so. 6 to 12 inches, isolated spots, going to get up to that 1.5 foot range as far as how much rain will come down. And it's really going to be on the north side of the storm. So as we get kind of further away from that, those rainfall totals kind of taper down to that 4 and 8 inch range. We already showed you some videos of some confirmed tornadoes well off to the East Coast, closer to Broward County, areas around Palm Beach. So this tornado watch includes a big chunk of the state. And as these rain bands continue to move through, that is going to be a concern. That tornado watch runs through 9 o'clock tonight, and with these massive wedge tornadoes that we've already seen spin up, I think it's safe to say that this storm will be a pretty proficient tornado producer. As for our impacts, we keep going county by county, but it's important to continue to focus in on these specific areas. Gusts up to 100 miles per hour here for Hillsborough, Pinellas. Rainfall 8 to 12 for these areas. Then we slide north, higher rainfall accumulations here on the north side of the storm, but lower storm surge numbers up to 7 feet on the high side.